Captain Jack Harkness is known to a lot of Whovians as the cool, charismatic Immortal who can also save the world when the Doctor is not around. Since the introduction of Jack in 2005, the character has grown leaps and bounds and is one of the best things to come out of the revived era of Doctor Who. It's a sin not to mention Russell T Davies, as he was the one who created the character. However, the most fundamental reason why this character has worked for all these years is John Barrowman. The huge amount of enthusiasm he has given as a performer and in real life shows that this character means an awful lot to him, as well as many Whovians across the globe. When it comes to Doctor Who, part of the reason why this character is so fun to watch is because Captain Jack brought something new to the table. He was intriguing, and most of all, he was progressive. He was the first Doctor Who character on TV to be openly depicted as being bisexual, or, as Jack himself likes to put it, omnisexual. Some of these relationships have been depicted in expanded media, and more notably in Torchwood. In the Doctor Who episode The Parting of the Ways, he kissed both Rose Tyler and the Ninth Doctor, the latter of which marked the first ever same-sex kiss in the programme's history. Jack was also a time agent from the 51st century, therefore making him more aware of events beyond the 21st century and happenings away from planet Earth. The fact that he possesses a vortex manipulator tells us an awful lot that he has been out and about a lot. His origins are something which have been mentioned in passing a couple of times in the show. He is from the Beauchene Peninsula and was called the Face of Bow. Interestingly, his origins could somehow tie into his eventual fate, because, as Doctor Who fans know, the Face of Bow was a big giant head who played a pivotal role in some early episodes of the revived era. Bow's dying words to the Doctor were, "You are not alone." That revelation, of course, was a foreshadowing to the return of the Master later in Series 3. And who was there when that happened? Yeah, you guessed it. I don't think that Jack becoming the Face of Bow has officially been confirmed by Russell T Davies himself, but it has been teased more than anything. I'd like to think that this is something what happens to Jack in a billion years' time or so. It may be something which will never get explained, but I'm fine with that. His origins are explained even further in expanded material, including a depiction of how he lost 2 years of his memory while he was still a time agent. He actually adopted the name Jack Harkness, as he lost the memory of his real name, Javik Piotr Thane. Again, we get a bit of a description of this in the character's first appearance in The Empty Child, and later on in the Torchwood episode, Captain Jack Harkness. After Jack learned about the memory wipe, he left the agency and became a con artist, which led to him meeting the Ninth Doctor and Rose. In The Empty Child, he ran a scam involving a Tula ambulance which travelled back in time to the London Blitz during World War II. It is later revealed in The Doctor Dances that the ambulance caused nanogenes to escape, attaching themselves to a dead child wearing a gas mask, thus zombifying him. And writing that down and saying it out loud sounds really messed up. Everything or everyone that he touched turned into something like him. All of this was caused inadvertently by Jack. After the Doctor fixed the nanogenes by reuniting the empty child and his mother, the child was brought back to life. The gas mask was no longer fused to his face. Jack did realise the error of his ways, and he quickly redeemed himself by stopping a bomb land on the Doctor and Rose. He stored it aboard his Tula warship, but he didn't have long left, as it was about to explode. Luckily for Jack, the Doctor rescued him, welcomed him aboard the TARDIS, and thus he became a companion of the Ninth Doctor and Rose Tyler for a few adventures. Throughout his early appearances, Jack was known for his charm and witty one-liners, and From that, I was sold on this character. By the end of Series 1, Jack was killed by the Daleks before later being brought back to life thanks to the power of Bad Wolf after Rose Tyler absorbed the time vortex and brought life. He was abandoned on Satellite 5 as the Doctor and Rose fled the scene. For a time, that looked like that could have been it for the character. However, his resurrection led to another side effect, which has proved crucial to the character's appearances ever since. He became immortal. In terms of TV appearances in Doctor Who, Jack was not seen in Series 2. By that time, David Tennant was now the 10th Doctor. Instead, however, later in 2006, the character returned as a star of a new spin-off, Torchwood. Now, there's a lot more character building for Jack in Torchwood. We find out more about aspects of his personal life, such as his family, his past relationships with characters like John Hart, and why he became a part of Torchwood in the first place. If you watch Series 1 of Torchwood before he eventually did return to Doctor Who in Series 3, then you get the full picture. However, if you did not watch Torchwood prior to the Doctor Who episode Utopia, you soon catch up with where the character is at and all of that, including his fate as an immortal, how he got off Satellite 5, and how long he waited for the right version of the Doctor to show up in Cardiff Bay. In Series 3, Jack is very accepting of the Doctor's regeneration and takes to his new companion, Martha Jones, instantly. His loyalty has not faded away at all, no matter how you look at it. Who else holds on to the outside of the TARDIS when it's travelling through the vortex? In the 3-part finale for Series 3, Jack proved once again to be a useful ally, especially against the Master. Man, that guy must have got killed so many times in the year that never was. The skills which he learned working for Torchwood really came in handy here. When the Doctor wasn't around for all of that year, and when he was just in a cage and all of that, he sort of took command of the situation. After the world is saved again, Jack left again, but it wasn't long before he came back for Series 2 of Torchwood. By the end of Doctor Who Series 4, Jack was one of the many companions who helped the Doctor battle the Daleks again. Having had previous experience with the Daleks, again he became somewhat useful. I say somewhat because his mission to help infiltrate the Crucible is thwarted. In addition, earlier on, he arrived too late to stop the one Dalek who exterminated the 10th Doctor. At the adventure's conclusion, he leaves again for Torchwood. Upon reflection, Journey's End did naturally feel like the beginning of the end for Jack in Doctor Who, and his cameo in The End of Time really felt like the closing of a chapter. He made further appearances in 2 more series of Torchwood. But then the worst thing happened. Torchwood never came back after Miracle Day. John Barrowman went to do other things away from Doctor Who, aside from conventions. Captain Jack never interacted with the 11th or 12th incarnations of the Doctor. All we got were a few mentions of the character in passing from time to time. I, like many others, thought that the time-hopping hero was no more, on TV at least. I was happy to see Jack get another spin-off, The Lives of Captain Jack, which explores his character even further. There were Torchwood audio plays, which are still ongoing. These audios tell more character-driven stories and develop the relationships of certain characters, including Jack's friendship with Gwen Cooper and his loving relationship with Ianto before the events of Children of Earth. But then, around a year ago, out of nowhere, he came back to Doctor Who. Our prayers were finally answered. Jack's return made me the most excited I've been about new Doctor Who for years. Seeing John Barrowman back in that World War II trench coat was just delightful. The episode Fugitive of the Judoon was one which overall I really enjoyed. I go more in depth in my Series 12 review, so if you want to hear more about that, then check out that video. On the flip side, though, you can't just bring characters back just for the sake of bringing them back due to popular demand. All Jack was there for in this episode was for fan service and to provide a little bit of exposition. The only characters he interacted with here were Graham, Ryan and Yaz. He didn't even make the 13th Doctor in this episode. He gave them a warning about the lone Cyberman and to not give it what it wants. 3 episodes later, the Doctor gives it what it wants. In the most recent episode to air, Revolution of the Daleks, Jack finally has stuff to do. He finally meets the 13th Doctor, gets her out of space jail, and helps to destroy the Daleks for a 3rd time. Damn, he really can't forget his first death, can he? One of the best things about the episode was Jack. His exchange of dialogue between all the main leads was some of the highlights of the whole episode for me. If there's one thing that I wish for more. He asks the Doctor about the lone Cyberman. That just gets brushed under the carpet with one line of dialogue. He also doesn't die in this episode, even though he says multiple times that he was immortal. For some fans, this could have been the first time that they ever saw Captain Jack. The callback to Rose was nice and all, but there's no payoff to newcomers, and it just kind of falls flat because you don't actually see him die and then come back to life like you did in the RTD era. Nitpicks aside though, John Barrowman clearly still possesses the enthusiasm for this character after all of these years. The best that Doctor Who fans can hope for is for more encounters with the Doctor, whether it be the 13th or beyond. There's also the age-old question now of if Torchwood will be returning to TV. Like most things, time will tell. To some, Captain Jack may not be all that. Some may dislike him for maybe being too camp or not being the grittiest character in the Doctor Who universe. That's fine. But to me, Captain Jack is one of the very many good characters who have appeared in the whole of the Doctor Who universe. Wherever he has appeared, he has made the material more enjoyable, regardless if the product overall is not at the best standard it can be. I'm not going to stand here and say that Fugitive of the Jadoon is the best thing ever because of Jack coming back at all. If anything, that episode still has a lot to answer for over a year later, with other plot elements which are still to be revisited in future episodes. Therefore, for now, it is a setup for things to come. For now at least, it is my favourite episode from Series 12. Ultimately, John Barrowman's portrayal of Jack has become so iconic that writers know that this guy can pull in viewers, including ones who may be displeased with recent storylines which have featured in Doctor Who. I can't get enough of this character, and I would be shocked if we did not see the Captain return once again to help the Doctor battle the evils of the universe. He's just awesome, isn't he?